was that you were saying. Now, what I was saying, wasn't any of those things. But still, it was amazing. And there were all these people that were sitting there in suits, taking notes very assiduously, and not saying a word, and not asking us a single question. But, I learned, that the great threat to American security, and this was not funny, is that, if you brought in a hog with hoof and mouth disease or something like that, that could, destroy the agriculture of the United States. So there were all of these incredible catastrophes that were, brought up as possibilities. That was like September 7th, 2011, or 2001. And then 4 days later was September 11th. And all of a sudden, it wasn't such a crazy thing to be thinking about all of these kinds of things. And it was a different world. So in any case, Fred, I think, had a very, very good time and good career at the MITRE Corporation. He ultimately retired from the MITRE Corporation. And I actually didn't spend a lot of time with Fred in the last days of his life. I know that he developed Lewy body dementia, which is really one of the terrible ironies of life, that someone who was so smart and so quick and so insightful and so empathic would develop a condition that would take that all away. And so it was really so sad to hear of his passing, and just to think about what a huge loss it is, I think, for all of us. And you think about all of the people that have trained with Fred over the years, some of them sitting here in this room. This year's ACR Distinguished Basic Science Investigator sitting in the front, John Mounts, Dennis Kleinman, the somnolent Yoshi Ishigatsubo from Japan, whom I lulled into a stupor. Something that I'm an expert at doing. And maybe with that, I should just call it a close. Dennis, do you have anything that you'd like to add to my comments?
And what I was going to say, and Dan already said it, is that he was a giant. He was a giant in every way. So him standing next to John Decker, who was also one of our professors when we were trainees, were two men who everyone had to look up to, both because of what they knew and because they were 15 feet tall. And I love this picture because while it doesn't show his sneakers, which I promise you he's wearing, but it does show his tie, and that is the only tie that Fred Steinberg owned. And I asked him why, and he said, it doesn't show stains. So Fred was a mentor to Dan and to I and to John and to Yoshi and to scores of other young investigators who have gone on to do really great things. And I certainly don't know that we would have gotten the training, that we would have had the opportunity to exercise our freedom of thought under the guidance of somebody who would allow us the leisure time to do things that everybody else would say was crazy. And he would tell you it was crazy, but then he'd tell you to go ahead and say the only way you could learn whether your ideas are any good is to take your crazy idea and do it. And he was utterly supportive of his fellows in a way that was really quite remarkable. He described the scientific world as a big balloon. And he said, no matter where you started on it, you could get anywhere else by any direction. So that would compare to someone like Henry Metzger, who everyone in his laboratory, you could work on anything as you wanted, as long as it's IgE. And Fred was, you could work on anything you wanted. He was a marvelous mentor. He challenged us. He yelled at us. He loved us. He could always be found in his office eating a Danny yogurt blueberry with Coke, which he would then go and he'd disappear for an hour because he'd have to go swimming to work it off. We learned early that if we brought treats to the laboratory prior to lab meeting, that you couldn't leave it in in his office. He would eat it. He would just sit down and just go through whatever was there. But he was a remarkable man, and Dan captured almost everything. He is also a Talmudic scholar. In our synagogue, he led a Torah studies group every Saturday afternoon for decades. His knowledge of politics, of art. I have to give one other story. It's true, we all have pictures that Fred painted for us. Dan obviously rated more than me. I wanted one of his pleasant scenes. He did some seascapes. He went through a seascape period, but he would give me one. I didn't qualify for a seascape.
I may have an extra.
The other thing is that Fred was not a wilting lily. He was not shy about his abilities, which were phenomenal. But I remember that he had painted 400 or 500 of these oil paintings. You couldn't walk through his house because the corridors were crammed with easels and with finished paintings on just lying against the wall. And he figured out how to get rid of them. As Dan mentioned, he graduated Princeton and summa cum laude. And so he returned to Princeton for his 30th or 35th anniversary. And he went into the art museum there. And he approached the head of the art museum and said, "I am Fred Steinberg." And of course the art museum director said, "Yes, of course." And he said, "I would like to donate for a period, not permanently, but for a period, my artwork to you to display here in the museum." And I must say, I did not qualify to get into Princeton, but this art director clearly had been through this before, because he looked Fred right in the eyes and said, "We would love to have your pictures. Of course, it will cost about $200,000 to mount them properly, and we will need your support for that." And Fred just laughed. But Fred was a very good insult in many other ways as well. John Cowdery, who predates us, would tell the story where Fred was a big, strong guy. They loved to go canoeing, and he would always bring people with him. And the canoes tipped over in the Potomac near the rapids, and Fred dove out to save people. I had been with Fred when we would go to a meeting and he'd say, "Let's take a walk." And he'd gather people who